Hello and welcome. I'm Suma Katauka and you're watching the Africa Brief on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top stories this hour. At least 40 people were killed in a funeral attack in el-Obeid, Sudan, amid rising tensions between the army and paramilitary rapid support forces. The UN warns the security situation in Kordofan is rapidly deteriorating. The White House says the United States is working with international partners to end Sudan's civil war after the rapid support forces captured al-Fashir, the army's last Darfur stronghold. Tens of thousands have died and millions displaced since fighting began in April of 2023. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau discusses regional security with Mali's foreign minister and praised Mali's forces for fighting JNIM. The al-Qaeda-linked group has been attacking fuel convoys amid a blockade on imports. Morocco's royal palace has announced that October 31st will be a national holiday starting next year to mark a UN resolution supporting its Western Sahara autonomy plan. The resolution calls autonomy under Moroccan sovereignty a feasible solution to the decades-long conflict with the Polisario Front. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has welcomed the EU Enlargement Committee's annual report, calling it Ukraine's best in 3 years. He has highlighted military successes, continued EU membership progress, and EU financial support exceeding €1.8 billion. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has confirmed that the U.S. military killed 2 suspected drug smugglers in the Eastern Pacific. This marks the 16th strike since September, raising the overall death toll to at least 67 people in Caribbean and Pacific operations. A UPS cargo plane crashed during takeoff at Louisville International Airport, sparking massive fires. 7 deaths are confirmed, with 11 injured and several missing. 3 crew members still remain unaccounted for, while authorities urge families to visit the reunification center. The death toll from Typhoon Kalma-Egi rises to at least 90 people in the Philippines, with the Cebu province worst hit. Floods and 80-mile-per-hour winds sweep through cities in the country. Meanwhile, a rescue helicopter went down, claiming the lives of all 6 crew members. Now we start with Sudan. At least 40 people were killed in a drone strike in a funeral outside the el-Obeid area in North Kordofan, Sudan. According to officials, the attack on el-obeid village on Monday is blamed on the paramilitary rapid support forces. Many have died before reaching hospital. El-Obeid is a strategic city connecting Khartoum to Darfur. While fighting has intensified, about 20,000 people fled last week after the RSF captured Bara town and el-Fashir, the army's last Darfur stronghold. The UN and ICC report summary executions, mass killings, and looting, warning of possible war crimes. Food security experts also say el-Fashir is suffering famine, while Kadugli faces catastrophic hunger. UN Secretary General Guterres has called for an immediate halt to the violence and urged the army and RSF to negotiate, while the Sudanese government considers a US-led truce proposal. At least 40 people were killed in a drone strike in a funeral outside el-Obeid in North Kordofan, Sudan. According to officials, the attack on al-Luwaib village on Monday is blamed on the paramilitary rapid support forces. Many have died before reaching the hospital. El-Obeid is a strategic city connecting Khartoum to Darfur, where fighting has intensified. Now for this discussion, we welcome Ayanuga Olugbenga Paul. He's a public affairs analyst, joins us live from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to NewsX World.
Thank you, Osman, for having me.
Thank you. Now looking at this news, thank you. Now looking at this news, can you tell us the strategic importance of the city el-Obeid, which is connecting Khartoum and Darfur, and what more can you tell us about what's unfolding inside of Sudan?
Well, if you look at the map of Sudan, you'll discover that el-Obeid is a strategic midpoint between Khartoum and El Fasher that has seen lots of actions in the last few weeks. El Fasher is in North Darfur, while el-Obeid is in North Kordofan. So, but looking at it on the map, you will see that they are really a route that connects to Khartoum, and the RSF force is trying to take inch by inch the towns that are still in the stronghold of the army, and they are leaving carnage along the line. But like I've said severally, all the international agencies that have been talking, all we've seen is all talks and no action. And this is the same way that we had all talks and no action in Rwanda in 1994 until 800,000 people have died. Now, maybe because the 150,000 people that have died in Sudan didn't die in a 100 days period like the case of Rwanda. So it doesn't get to have that same grim feeling that Rwanda has. But any loss of life, anywhere, anytime, for whatever reason, is a terrible thing. And leaving it to metastasize to the level that we are at right now since April 2023, I think it is in the hands of the people themselves, the army and the rebel leaders, to find a direct means of communication, because we cannot continue to have this humanitarian crisis where, the town of Kadugli is totally starved out now, surrounded, and they've not had access to humanitarian support in the last 3 to 4 months, with UN not being able to penetrate the town, and resources are running till people are dying in droves of hunger in the town of Kadugli. So, and this now coming to Rus, el-Obeid is currently held by the army, and the RSF is trying to take it over from the army, and that is why this intense fighting is ongoing. But then, in this war, nobody has respect for standard operational procedure, and they are committing war crimes that are on a genocidal level, even though they are denying the fact that the killings are ethnically motivated, with the RSF leadership promising to investigate the allegation of killings, wanton killings, and summary executions of civilians in recent time. But even with that, it still does not show, there is no show of any concrete efforts by both RSF and the army to find a middle ground. And at the end of the day, a nation of 12 million people being decimated this much, the bigger effect is that no serious investor will want to come in except for arms suppliers and arms dealers and illegal miners who want to mine the oil. Don't forget that also el-Obeid has a lot of their oil wells in Sudan located around that location. So it is one of the strategic reasons why they are fighting for the soul of el-Obeid, and it's terrible. The people that were killed on Monday during the funeral, it's a very terrible news to bear.
I think building on your answer, it seems like you're suggesting that there is a lack of mediator. Is there nobody who can negotiate between RSF and the Sudanese army and the international organizations effectively?
No, the people who seems to who can do this job seems to be invested in their own personal interest as it seems right now. And if those people, the major international axis of power, don't forget that um, Sudan is also of strategic interest because a part of it is bordered by the Red Sea. And many of the international vessels who are passing through the Straits of Hormuz, through Red Sea to Europe, will pass through this region. They are already battling on one side with Houthi rebel in Yemen on the one side now. And if you now add the Sudan situation leading to escalation of piracy on the IC, it seems that many of the international negotiators that we have trusted, like the UN Security Council, the UN FPA, the African Union, I think they all have their own different agenda, and with their body language, doesn't seem their agenda aligned with achieving peace in Sudan. That is how it seems to me. I might be wrong, you know. So, and that is why I hope that the leaders of both RSF and the army will gain some sense and try to negotiate directly with each other, and find a means. Because what it seems is that the people who are supposed to negotiate and help bring peace into the region are the ones escalating and fueling the war. They will tell the army side what the army wants to hear. They will tell the RSF what the RSF wants to hear, not what they need to hear, so that the war can be brought to a halt. And that is what I feel is happening, and that is why I don't trust all these international negotiation or negotiator team that are currently on ground there.
Thank you very much, Ayanuga, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we stay on this topic now. The United States is very much engaged, in their words, in seeking an end to this conflict in Sudan, according to White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. She has said that the administration is in frequent contact with its Arab partners and is working to achieve a peaceful resolution, noting that the situation on the ground remains very complicated. On Nigeria, Leavitt has reiterated that if the government continues to allow the killings of Christians, the U.S. will immediately stop all aid and may take action against the Islamic terrorists responsible for attacks on women and children. Regarding federal food assistance, she has said that the administration is complying with court orders and distributing payments as quickly as possible. Future SNAP payments are being managed to ensure emergency funds are preserved for catastrophic terms. This is what she has said.
Challenges. I actually spoke with Secretary Rubio about this morning, as of course there's been, kind of an uptick in recent reporting on the matter, and he assured me that the administration is very much engaged. We're in pretty frequent communication with those Arab partners that I just mentioned, and we want to see this conflict come to a peaceful end, just as we have with so many others, but the reality is it's a very...
Now, for this discussion, we welcome back Ayanuga Olugbengapol. He's a public affairs analyst, joins us live from Lagos. Thank you very much, Ayanuga, for staying with us. Now, looking at all of the situations over there, including Sudan and Nigeria now, focusing on to Nigeria, what political or military strategies could help Nigeria? And what do you think are the interests or motives of U.S. eyeing Nigeria, or U.S. trying to interfere in Nigeria's domestic politics?
Well, I think it's a big slap on our nation as a country that U.S. is interfering, and U.S. is, to me, the big bully who only bullies people they know they can lord over. The manner, ways, and language U.S. speaks with Nigeria in this situation, you don't see them speaking with China that way. Neither did you see them speaking with Russia that way, because they know strength for strength, those people will match them. But it is what it is. On the one part, I won't lie that I am not happy that the U.S. spoke. because ever since the US government spoke, even though I don't agree with them and some of the things that they said, but we have seen on the ground a lot of rapid changes, a lot of efforts by the state governors, because most often than not, people blame the federal government or for some of the challenges that we are facing in the nation, especially as it concerns security measures. But every politics is local, and if the local government, the state government, are not cooperating enough or are not on the same page with the federal government, when the federal government policy body language is A and the state policy body language is Z, you see, there will be no alignment. They will be totally out of sync. But now, the fear of US invasion and all the rest are making a lot of states put efforts in place to tackle the war on terrorism head on. And let's hope that this current momentum will be sustained and we will be able to see direct impact of this threat. But on the threat itself, I, from my study of history and understanding of history, knows that the U.S. government, U.S. people might be very nice people, fantastic people, but the U.S. government itself has shown itself to be a leprous hand that stains whatever it touches. I mean, there is a saying in the international foreign affairs circle that it is dangerous to be an enemy of the U.S., but it is better to be a friend of the U.S. And we've seen it several times in the history of U.S. diplomatic relations with other people that those who U.S. wants to destroy, it first makes friends with them. Iraq is on our mind, Afghanistan is on our mind, Libya is on our mind, even Venezuela is on our mind, and we know how U.S. Diplomatic body language, even all these Southern American countries of Nicaragua, Colombia, and several of them who are still reeling in the troubles that are machinated by US in one way or the other. Uh, the US first made friends with them, so it is special to be friends with the US. And with all these example of their past incursions into other nations and the instability that follows, most Nigerians are very skeptical and very weary to welcome US boots on any inch of our soil. Any form of boots on the ground is an act of war against the nation Nigeria. And you see, this war that is going on everywhere in the Sahel, even in Sudan, has its own effects, either directly or indirectly, because by the time people cross from El Fasher, for example, into Chad Republic, there is nothing for them in Chad. So the best place they will look for greener pasture, for safety, is Nigeria. And so some of this war in other parts of the Sahel region of Africa is brewing the insecurity challenges in Nigeria. And that is why we are hoping that the wars in Sudan will be brought to a halt as soon as possible. The situation even in Libya, where there is still skirmishes between government forces and rebel forces, even though it is not pronounced as it was in the last 5 years, but it is still there, and its effect is still reeling on a country like Nigeria. So we are hoping that once all of these things can be sorted, then we will get our home cleaned up. And the most important thing that I want US to focus on, if truly they meant well for Nigeria and want to help Nigeria, is the issue of sanctions on political office holders, military office holders who fail in their duty to protect the citizens. Because many of these powerful political office holders who are supposed to defend the citizen, they have their children in the US, they have their families in Europe. And so if the US and Europe come together and sanction them and send back to Nigeria all their family, then you see, they will know that it's a serious case that they need to solve the problem on the ground if they too and their
Yes.
family wants to live peacefully within the borders of the country.
Yes, indeed. With that, I would like to thank Ayanuga Olugbengapol for joining us and sharing that insight as a public affairs analyst all the way from Lagos. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau has said that he spoke with Mali's Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop to discuss shared security interests in the region. In a post on X, Landau also stated that the United States commends the armed forces of Mali in their fight against Islamic extremist terrorists. In early September, al-Qaeda-linked group Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin (JNIM) has announced a blockade on fuel imports to the landlocked West African country. The group has since attacked convoys of fuel tankers attempting to enter the country or reach the capital, Bamako. Last week, the U.S. State Department ordered non-emergency employees and their family members to leave Mali due to safety risks. Now for this discussion, we welcome Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. He's a former Indian ambassador, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining us again. Good to see you. Ambassador, now looking at this, how should Mali balance collaboration with international partners like U.S. while addressing their domestic security threats from groups in JNIM? How effective do you think foreign evacuations and advisories could be there?
Thank you for having me. It's a complex issue and has seen some of very important flux in the region during the past decade or so. Firstly, Mali is the sub-Saharan, a Sahel country in sub-Sahara. Much of it north is desert and south is arid zone bordering on Black Africa. Almost everyone there is a Muslim, and it was potentially a very rich country with gold mines, etc. But Islamists have, from Algeria, with which it has a long border, have percolated down, and Arab Qaeda and Al-Qaeda in Arab Maghreb is AQIM, and its offshoots are prevalent there. It has led to ECOWAS, the regional groupings, sending its armed forces, but they have been withdrawn. French have also deployed their troops together with Chadians and others. But again, there have been a military coup in Mali, and after that, the Malian government decided that ex-colonialist forces from France were not welcome, and they have relied on regional forces and friendly countries, including Wagner Group of Russia and Russian advisors, to fight the war themselves. It's been an inconclusive and bloody fight with the Islamists and Mali's ill-equipped army. United States stayed out of it till recently, and Mali's military government was ostracized by ECOWAS and African Union because they do not countenance positively on military coups or overthrowing civilian governments. In that situation, Mali and two other regional countries, including Niger and Burkina Faso, where also military coups had taken place, they have gone together and decided to form some kind of alternate union and military alliance. Now, this was the situation till recently when United States decided that it needs to pay closer attention to Islamic fundamentalist militancy in West Africa, such as Nigeria. You have just spoken on that issue about Islamists killing Christians in Nigeria, and America getting increasingly vocal about it. There are also American troops were deployed in Niger, bordering Nigeria, but then they have been withdrawn, and yet there are some reverberations about sending them back, and Central Command of United States is working on it. Mali, there are talks between Foreign Minister and the Assistant Secretary of State of United States, shows that the United States may be working on some kind of support to Malian government to enable it to fight Islamists in a better way and without help from Russia and other countries that the United States disapproves of. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we stay in Africa. A Nigerian court has warned separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu that he risks losing his right to defend himself against terrorism charges if he does not present a defense in a trial that has become a lightning rod for unrest in the southeast. The court's warning signals a turning point in the trial that has now stretched over a decade. His refusal to mount a defense risks shutting down his case, potentially accelerating a verdict. Kanu, who leads the banned indigenous people of Biafra, is facing 7-count terrorism charge stemming from his campaign for the secession of southeastern Nigeria, which he denies wrongdoing. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. He's a former Indian ambassador, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for staying with us. Now looking at this news, how might the outcome of Nnamdi Kanu, this particular individual's trial, affect political stability further and separatist movements in southeastern Nigeria? And how can Nigerian government balance their national security concerns after this trial?
Good question. And admire your channel for bringing out such esoteric but important issues about countries which are important in Africa, such as Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu and his movement for restoration of Biafra are demagogic outfits hell-bent upon creating a popular milestone, but have very little else to aim for. As you would recall, Nigeria faced a very serious separatist threat during 1960s, 66, 67 to 1970, when Biafra tried to secede from Nigeria. This was within a decade of Nigeria gaining independence. The civil war was among the bloodiest Africa has seen, with all sorts of countries getting involved. Eventually, Biafra was defeated, and Nigerian federal forces were victorious, and Biafra issue has receded from the headlines since 1970. Yet, many of the people in that part, southeast of the country, retain nostalgia for that entity, Biafra. These are mostly Igbo people who are And the area has almost all the oil and gas fields that Nigeria has. Uh, the region has fallen to a bit of a disgrace with oil piracy, bunkering of crude, lawlessness, kidnapping, and other crimes taking place. The oil income has not benefited the average Igbo person living in that area, and there are all sort of disaffected causes that are represented by violent mob and justification for kidnapping and lawlessness is stemmed on our oil and gas are more a pain than blessing for us. These are the oligarchs take it away from the region. Multinational companies scrounge the funds and benefit, and yet the average person has very little to go by. So that kind of popular sentiment was tapped into by Nnamdi Kanu. He was detained. His party was declared illegal, and he has been under trial. The defense on his side has sort of not collaborated with the court, and the trial has dragged on for over a decade.
Yes.
None of the two sides seem to be keen on an early resolution. Kanu's team thinks that he would be sentenced to a long prison sentence eventually, so he is not keen to have it a done deal. On the other side, federal government would like to not to make Kanu a hero or a martyr by sentencing him or executing him. So the whole thing continues to hang fire. Every now and then some court proceedings takes place, and then on it goes into hibernation all over again.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for not only answering my question, but shedding light to the history behind this news. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Morocco. Morocco's royal palace has announced that October 31st will be observed as a new national holiday starting next year, commemorating the UN Security Council's resolution supporting Morocco's autonomy plan for Western Sahara. The resolution, which is adopted last week, recognizes Moroccan sovereignty over the disputed region and describes autonomy as the most feasible solution to the decades-long conflict with the Algeria-backed Polisario Front. The Polisario Front continues to demand full independence for Western Sahara, a territory claimed by Morocco since 1975. The decision marks a major diplomatic victory for Rabat, reinforcing its position in one of North Africa's longest-running disputes. And that's a wrap on Africa Brief. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.